Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Now we haven't had a rehouse for a little while because we've been doing lots of other things, but we've decided we're going to have one today, and this is going to be the Cyriopagopus lividus, or the lividum, which is in fact the Cobalt Blue Tarantula. Now these are a fossorial spider from Thailand, and this one was donated to the Beastie Room by a lovely subscriber, James, in Boston. Him and his father contacted us through Facebook and said that they're moving out of their tarantulas and they were looking for a home for them. So they kindly donated their collection to the Beastie Room, which is very much appreciated. We've got some here that we didn't have in the Beastie Room, which will come up at a later date. We have got one of these, but we do like our Cobalt Blues. They are a fantastic spider. So we're going to do a rehouse of this girl here. She's in here now. Now, a couple of new things actually. We got this is a Habitat 30 by 30 enclosure, and I've not used these before either. So this is all a bit fresh, really. So we're going to see how this enclosure works. So we've got a top opening here, and as you'd have seen there, it's just like little catches in the top and they hold it together, and it's also front opening as well. Now I will say we had some other enclosures once before. I think actually it's the 20 by 20 by 30 Komodos, which have this same design catch where you have to pull that down and open it at the same time. And I find that very, very awkward, really difficult. Unlike the Exos that we use, with them it's a straight switch, open the door. I can do everything one-handed. With these, I do find these a little bit awkward. They are good and strong, nothing's getting out, but yeah, they're a little bit of mucking about. But we will get round that, we will get through that. We're going to give them a try anyway, see how they work out. Right then, so what we're going to do now is we are going to fill this up. As we said a minute ago, this is a fossorial spider. And these are one of the fossorial spiders that are actually true to the word. They do tend to stay underground. Many of our others, we will see them out and about quite a lot. So they're sort of semi-terrestrial stroke fossorial. But with our lividus, we very rarely see them. Apart from like in the mornings when we put the lights on, quite often they're out and they'll be in the mouth of their burrow. But as soon as them lights have been on for a few minutes, they'll retreat, disappear back down. So they're a really, really lovely spider when you do get to see them. You just don't see them very often. Right, so we're going to put in some straightforward compost has gone in there now. We're now going to add some Beastie mix, good old natural Beastie mix. We do love this stuff. We'll just mix that up. You notice how it gives it a lovely texture, gives it a really nice texture. Now obviously we're not going to want to go too mad. Now, all being said that we have our fossorial spider, there is no need to go absolutely mad with the depth of your substrate. Now I know online you get people creating merry hell. Oh, you know, it needs what are we looking at, Marlon?
Milk bottles. Can you get rid of that?
Milk bottles. Never work with women and children, they say. Jesus Christ, we're in the middle of a bleeding rehouse. Ever since she came on the payroll, she has been nothing but trouble. Right, back to the rehouse. Is that all right, my love, if we carry on? Cool, right. As we were saying, with the fossorial spiders, although they like to burrow, there is no need to have masses and masses of substrate for them to dig down into. They burrow for a number of reasons. One of them is security, which we provide. We provide all the security. They've got nothing to be fearful of. They burrow down to escape extreme temperatures. We cover all of that as well. We're looking after the temperature, so we're making sure there ain't 45 degrees in here. So, you know, they don't need to be escaping massive temperatures. So the two main reasons is safety and temperature, and we cover that ourselves. So there is no need to have 6 foot of soil in the bottom of your bleeding enclosure. And we do know that, you know, it's one of them wars that's gone on and on and on through social media. You'll get the diehards that say it should be exactly like the wild. Well, if that's the case, I think you should give up now. You're never going to replicate the wild. So what we can do is we can try and make it the best that we can. But we don't need to go overboard. A little bit of common sense is all that's required. Use a bit of common sense, you will go far. Right then, so what we're going to do, we're going to put, I'm thinking, I want to put this in here like this. Actually, we're going to go corner to corner. We can get a little bit more substrate in there. So what we're doing now is we're building our substrate so that we can enhance the look of our enclosure. We're not doing it because someone said this spider needs X amount. And what we do, I want the spider to come down and live in this corner. So hopefully we use this moss log on top. This will give us the roof. We'll make a little starter burrow here with our hand, and then we can fill in everywhere else. So we're going to use a bit more potting compost. One thing that we will notice is in time she will move this all around and do her own thing, and it won't look anything how it's going to look now. It's probably all going to change quite drastically. And the other thing to think of as well is when it comes down to her digging this out, all that soil is going to end up in this front corner here. So we need to be a little bit aware of that. So there we go. We can dig that down there now. She's got a nice tunnel to go under. We've got some lovely moss here. So we're going to put that in. You can do, take that off. I'm just going to put that in there. Now with the moss, this is going to do a couple of things. It's going to lock in the humidity and the dampness in the soil. It's going to keep that in there. It's also, you'll find that they're less inclined to want to actually dig this up because it's a solid mat. They'll be more inclined to dig down here, which is what we want. We want to try and make sure that that is where she goes. So we're going to use a little bit more here. We can take that through there. You see how we can just literally tear it up and we can do what we want with it. I'm just going to put that in here. We're going to leave this bit here open. Get rid of that. Don't want that. We'll leave that bit there open. We'll stick a water bowl down the side. Now chances are we will end up moving this water bowl depending on how she digs this up and what she does. But that's okay. We can do that. Do that. We're going to get a bit of... You'll notice on here that the moss is very, very dry. And this time of year, this was collected fresh. So it's actually Sunday today. And this was only collected a couple of days ago. And you'll find all your moss is really, really dry this time of year. So it doesn't look its best, but once you get it in and you give it a good soak, it will actually come back to life and it will replenish itself and it will look really, really nice. And that's what this is doing. It's looking better already. Now, we're not worrying about the water here. As you've seen, we've given that a really, really good soak. But one of the things that we benefit in the beastie room is all of our enclosures have full mesh tops, which means that the humidity within here has an opportunity to actually rise and dissipate through the mesh top, so it leaves the enclosures. And this is how we manage to manage our bioactive enclosures on our planted enclosures and everything else. We can quite heavily water these enclosures without fear of any problems, because the warmth in the room adds to the rise of the humidity within the tanks, and this is how we govern our humidity. Now, one thing I want to stress with you guys at the moment, as I said, it's Sunday today, which is, what is the date today? Is the 10th of July. You will be watching this video on the 11th, Monday. Now, if you keep an eye on your weather forecasts, you'll see that next week is going to get very, very hot. This week just gone has been very, very hot. I mean, we're cooking in here. It's really, really warm. Now, one of the things I would like to suggest to you all is do not overwater your enclosures over this next week or two, because the temperatures are very high. We're going to be hitting nearly 30 degrees in some parts of the country. So the temperatures are going to be really, really high. If you've got an enclosure, like many of you have exoterra enclosures, but you don't like the mesh tops, so you swap them for plexiglass or perspex tops on them. The minute you do that, you lose the ability to transfer the humidity in your tank out of the tank. So what you create is a stagnant environment within your enclosure. Now, in this really hot weather, you will see online plenty of people will be saying to you, make sure you keep your humidity up in your enclosures and keeping your water bowls overfilled and things like this. I am going to tell you now to do the exact opposite. Do not spray your enclosures over the next week or so unless you have a real good ventilated enclosure. And as I said before, we can get away with it here because all of ours are fully ventilated, which means that stagnant air rises, disappears into the room. Now, if you've got tubs like these, things like this, which we keep our juvies and our slings and things in, do not let these get wet, especially in this hot weather. If you sprayed just a small amount of water in here, it will burst out with humidity and it will create problems, and it may well kill your spider, especially as if you imagine it's 30 degrees outside, it's going to be warmer in here, and if it's damp in here, it's going to be even hotter. Yeah, it's going to be really, really stifling. Just the same as if, you know, if you go down the gym, you have a workout, you're all sweating hot and sweaty, sorry, and you go straight into the sauna room. Oh my God, the minute you open that door, you're like, oh, can't breathe. It's so hot. That is what it's going to be like in here if you spray it with 30 degrees outside. It is going to be absolutely horrendous. So you have to be very, very careful what you do with your water in this really hot weather. You might well say that in your boxes and everything, you've got air holes. Yeah, you may well have, but you haven't got air flow. There is no air flow. Now, we try and put things into examples that will make easy sense of things. Here in our house, we're in a flat. Now, we can have all the windows open at the front, all the windows open at the back, and we have zero airflow. The nets don't move, nothing. It's absolutely boiling. And you're like, blimey, we're up off the ground. You think there'd be a bit of a breeze up here. There is nothing at all. That is what it's like inside one of your boxes or any of your enclosures. It doesn't matter what you use. If you've not got decent ventilation, high ventilation, you want to stay away from the water. So the rest of the time it's fine. We can use it and we can make use of it, and sometimes it's beneficial. But in this really, really hot weather, it's the opposite. So what I would suggest is make sure your water bowls are full. Always make sure they've got fresh water and it's full, but don't overflow it. Just fill it up, you know, so they've got enough to drink from. Leave it at that. Then you can check it tomorrow or the next day, add a little bit more if necessary. If it's still in there, leave it there. Don't bother, just leave them alone. But don't go spraying your enclosures. Many people think that if you spray your enclosure, you're cooling it down. You're not. You are creating yourself an absolute nightmare. So water and high heat, bad combination, unless you can fully ventilate your enclosure. Right, sermon over. I hope that made sense. It's a very, very important topic, and one that many people get confused with, and you will see no doubt on social media there is so many people telling you to do different things, but I'm telling you what works for us, and we have great success with this. We don't have any losses in this heat, and we've had temperatures in here. I think the highest we've had it in here is about 33, I think, in here. And it was stifling. We didn't lose a single thing. No slings, no nothing. So you've got to understand the difference. All these different little things, they all culminate and make a big thing at the end of it. So it's just understanding the smaller dimensions of it all. Right. Well, I hope that made sense. We are now going to put our Cobalt Blue in her lovely new enclosure, which, as you can see, I've just soaked down in this lovely warm day. But guess what? It's because I've got a lovely vented top. Right, let's see how she behaves, shall we? Now these are they have got a reputation for being one of the real bad spiders. One of the real naughty spiders. And they can be very, very defensive. But that's not to say that they're aggressive. So please behave yourself, young lady. This is a female. Here we are, there she is. Now, looking at her, I don't know if we can see this. We'll have a look at her in the box. She is she's not far off from a molt. You can see the difference in the coloration with the legs and everything else. She's lost that vibrancy. So I would suggest that she's gonna be coming into a molt very, very soon. So what we're going to do, we are going to tickle her out, because she will look a lot better on the soil. Hopefully she won't run off. So we're just going to take her out nice and gently. As we said earlier on, these are from Thailand. So they do enjoy a warm temperature with a good humidity. She doesn't want to let go of the box. All I want you to do is face this way. There we go, let go. That's a girl. There we go. There we go. We don't want you coming out of the box either. Now you notice there, she came out nice and gently. We've not seen any threat poses yet. She's been really, really well behaved. We should get a nice look at her there.
She's kind of hiding down there.
Kind of hiding. We need a bit of can we get up a little bit? We are going mobile. Yeah, she's definitely coming into pre-molt, I would say. And we need to get a little bit of weight on her. You can see there, her abdomen's a little on the small side, but it's nothing too terrible. So we can get a bit more weight on her. We'll give her a few days to settle in here, and I'm sure she'll be very happy in here. So these guys, in temperature wise, they like it up in the high 70s to low 80s. They'll be perfectly happy. They can take it a little higher in temperature. They can, up in the mid 80s is not a problem with these guys whatsoever. And humidity wise, don't get too hung up on the high numbers in the humidity. You will often see with these guys that they'll sit there and they'll say they like a humidity up around 80–90% even. Now, just look at your soil. If your soil's got a little bit of a dark texture to it, when you see, you can look in here. If it's got a bit of a dark texture, it's got moisture in it. And that is what you want to be governing your enclosure on. So many of the, you get little tiny gauges. We did have some here somewhere. But you get tiny little gauges which give you a thermostat and also a hydrometer on them as well. So they check for humidity. But what these are doing is they are checking the air humidity. The humidity up here, up in the air. That's what the reading you're getting is from them. It's not giving you a reading that's down in that soil. So look at your soil. It's obvious in here. You can see in here it's very, very dark here. That's where it's wet. It gets lighter where it gets dry. And that's what you want to be looking at. Try and get that balance. And then to maintain it in a fossorial setup like this, the easiest way to do it, with this particular one here, we will spray our moss, which will only have a light spray in now. Now we've given it a good soak. Going forward, we will only give it a light spray. If we want to add more moisture to the soil, she is going to be buried in here, which means she's going to be under here somewhere. So we will add our water over here, or in the corner, or maybe down in here, and we will allow it to seep through into the enclosure. Now, if she finds it too dry where she is, she will tunnel towards that damper soil. And you're allowing her to choose what is the best place to be. Rather than just sitting there and soaking the whole enclosure, you're giving her a choice, which is exactly what she would do in the wild. She would choose where is the optimum place to rest. So by doing it like that, you are giving her the same choices. And believe it or not, she knows far better than you do. So she knows when she's happy. That's what we're looking for. Right. Well, she's been absolutely good as gold. I'm surprised she's not moved much. She's probably in like a little bit of shock. Being a fossorial spider, she's out in the open. So she's a little bit sort of like, I wonder where we are. But you notice there when we moved her out with some gentle handling, we had no aggression from her whatsoever. If you look online, all you see is horror stories about these guys being ultra aggressive. I think we've shown they don't all have to be like that. Treat them right, you'll get a nice spider. Right then, I think what we'll do is we'll close the door up nice and gently. I do find that a little bit awkward one-handed. We'll put our top on. And remember, when you're doing this, if you're just nice and gentle when you're doing it, remember spiders react through vibration. So you banging the lid down, slamming the door shut, it's not good. Think of how you feel when you've got a hangover and someone slams the door. Horrible, isn't it? Right, there we go. She is done. Right then. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and we made a little bit of sense about this hot weather and what you should and shouldn't be doing. And hopefully our spider will nestle in. She'll make a home for herself. And what we'll do, we're going to do a recap video very, very soon to cover some of the different enclosures that we've done and how they're getting on now, because some of them have been real big webbers, so they've done some amazing stuff. So we're going to have a little recap and try and catch up on a few of the spiders that we've covered over the last few months. Right then, well, don't forget, be calm, be gentle, and love your spider. And I will see you soon, guys.